All right. After general, all right, board matters, report of the police department review committee. Carol Ward Allen, is there some activities to report on?
No, nothing. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
I know there's been
On
some.
March 30th, we met with the faith-based leaders to provide them with an update on the committee activities. And we discussed the letter Bart sent to U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder in inviting his office to look into whether there is a pattern or practices of civil rights violations within the Bart Police Department. We also discussed Bart's actions and activities since New Year's Day. There are several documents on the table in the back, which kind of gives you an update on all the activities that we've done up to this point. And so, if any of you are interested in getting kind of a list of them, I think you'll be impressed. If you aren't, don't tell us because we worked very hard on that. The committee met this week to continue our discussion, and we're thinking of having a civilian oversight committee, and we're also planning on having some of the workshops that some of the people recommended earlier, but we have those in motion, so we just want you to know that. I would just also like to really thank the many faith based leaders as well as political leaders, and including Mayor Dellums, who have been very supportive and have been contacting us in reference to our police review. And I'd like to just say this real quickly, and that I was a little bit personally upset that when we had the 4 police officers here in Oakland and they had their uh, the funeral out at the Oakland Coliseum, I thought that by them sliding both our mayor and Barbara Lee, and also some of the other people, like the city council persons that were involved in that area, just didn't play well when we have a tense time the way we have today. You know, that not only what's happening today, but in general, our leadership must be thoughtful of that and consider that if they ask the youth to do certain things, they also have to be role models in it too. So that's just my personal feeling. Thank you.
Hey, Carol,
Thank you very much.
could I add a little caveat to your? Um, Carol has so much that she's doing that she's leaving out something that I know we need to get out in public, and that is that she is putting together a community meeting in the public in the evening, and she and Carrie Hamill have been working on that this week, and hopefully by the next board meeting, either we will be announcing the date or we will have already had the meeting. And at the next board meeting, we're also going to be bringing the recommendation, that's the plan, for the consultant to do the comprehensive review. And there were 12 proposals that were submitted, which for a project like this was a little astounding to me, but we've gotten through it. And Dorothy Duggar, I just want to say thank you for working with me on that. And also, I just want to say we're all grateful that you are, well, I'm personally grateful that you're okay, and that what happened today is certainly no indication of how we feel. We just want to make sure that you're okay. And thank you.
Thank you.
I don't get no love. Marsha don't get no love.
Director,
Marshall, you too.
Excuse me. I gotta look at the suit club. Thank you.
Tom
I understand where we are.
Radulovich. Tom Radulovich.
Just wanted to acknowledge that directors Fang and Franklin did get some paint on them as well.
Not Bob.
No, I did.
He did.
He did it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I still probably have right there.
At any rate, I did want to talk a little bit about sort of the public meetings. I know it came up earlier and folks aren't listening anymore, but just wanted to put it out there. We could be on BART TV and let the public know that we will be scheduling public meetings. There's I guess, I think of sort of 3 sets of issues in front of us. One is the issue of what happened on the platform New Year's Eve and how do we, make sure justice is done. And that is mostly in the hands of the courts right now. There are criminal proceedings, there are civil proceedings, and there's going to be the back and forth about that. That actually might take the longest to resolve, as it turns out. Just simply that's the way the justice system works. So there's a lot of impatience with us on that score. I think, at this point, though, unfortunately or fortunately, it's in the hands of the courts and in many cases out of our hands. The other part is, of course, any discipline that is necessary for the officers that were involved or any corrective action. That's partly on our internal investigation in the department, and then the Myers-Nave sort of independent internal investigation should have recommendations, and hopefully at least the personnel issues there, that will be resolved much sooner. A second group of issues is this comprehensive review of police procedure. And as was mentioned by Director Sweet, we are planning to put out, hopefully adopt that contract. So then that contract would start. There would be recommendations that would come forward in a few months on that. That's really the soup to nuts review of how our police do business now. So I would expect that we'll probably have one or more public meetings when that report comes out. We will certainly have public meetings of a more general nature beforehand, but I really want to get the public, put that document in their hands. We've had a lot of discussion of that today. Let's get the document. And I think sometimes towards the end of the summer, we can have some public meetings about those specific recommendations. The third important item of business is civilian review. You know, there seems to be growing consensus within the organization, on the board, in the ranks of the police and management, that some sort of civilian review at BART is necessary and appropriate. And so I'm pleased to hear that as a longtime advocate of civilian review. However, there's a lot of different models of civilian review. There's a lot of different definitions of what works. It's got to work for all parties, I think. It's got to work for the police. It's got to work for members of the public. It's got to work for the district, et cetera. So I think we imagine that there will be some public meetings, and coming up in the month of May, I believe we're trying to schedule them, that will be focused directly on civilian review. We've met with the state legislators. They'd like us to do something. They'll make us do something, but they would like us to do something. So we really want to make sure that everyone participates. I think, it was a horrible tragedy on New Year's Eve, certainly, but I'm sort of encouraged. Unfortunately, today's incident was very unfortunate, and I'm sorry, Dorothy, that happened to you. But I think that shows that people need to kind of tone their rhetoric down. This guy obviously was kind of ready to be unhinged, and a lot of what people say is really inflammatory, and I think people need to take a little bit more responsibility for their rhetoric. Yes, it was horrible what happened to Oscar Grant, but I think we're kind of inflaming this, or some people are inflaming this, and we just need to be responsible in terms of the rhetoric and get to what's really going to fix things. But that said, I think the prospects for making progress are great. And I think largely because also we're going to have the support of the police. It's been great actually working with them and talking with them about all of the room for improvement that they see. I think they believe, and they're right to believe, that they're a good force, that they're well trained. They also see that there's room for improvement. They'd like to be better trained. They'd like better equipment. There's definitely resources that they want to see come to them, and they think that they can be a better force than they already are. So that kind of reform sentiment exists all through the ranks, which is very, very encouraging. People really, really want to improve policing at BART beyond what it is today. So I think we're going to make some progress on that as well. I hope that when we discuss the budget that we will actually, kind of call out the police budget as something we want to look at. I think what we've heard is there's real interest in additional training on the part. The police officers come forward and said that, and managers. I think the chief and his staff think training is certainly an area. We're not quite sure what exactly the training is that we want. We're doing the required training, but there's optional training. Again, it's one thing that we're doing well, but could be doing better. So I think we should have a special kind of look at the police budget this year, just to make sure that we carry forward some money. And I know money is incredibly tight, but I think it's really imperative that we do some additional funding in areas of training and so on in this budget. So hopefully we can kind of look at, when we look at the budget, what your assumptions are about additional resources that may be needed to implement all of the recommendations that are going to come forward later in the year. So I'm sorry to be long-winded at this late hour, but I really wanted to kind of fill in some of the blanks in terms of where we've been going. Yes.